it just is unfathomable that, why they think that this is going to be a problem.
Industrial solar power, a heated topic in Kansas. Some counties want them, some don't. As Sedgwick County inches closer to approval of some new regulations that would allow for solar farms, Brandon Stitt's talking with commissioners about what the new plans could mean. Brandon?
Yeah, Mike, in 2019, Sedgwick County blocked wind farms, and unlike other counties in Kansas, they left the door open for solar. And now, after nearly a year-long moratorium for large-scale solar, new rules could soon allow those farms to take off.
Concern about physical harm, environmental damage.
Some people hate the idea, but others...
There are bad places to place it, and there are good places. But to just outlaw it kind of takes away, everything.
At Wednesday's commission meeting, the topic of large-scale solar farms attracted a large crowd and plenty of feedback. Last year, a moratorium suspended any large-scale solar projects in the county. The reason, according to Commissioner David Dennis, rules for these types of projects were never addressed.
The regulations that we put together in the zoning regulations and the comprehensive plan really didn't address all of the different issues involved in putting a large solar project in Sedgwick County.
Before the moratorium, solar projects were subject to the Planning Commission's conditional use permit, a process Dennis says lacked consistent standards and could impact community growth.
I don't know what this county is going to look like in 25, 35, 45, 55 years, but whatever we do now is going to affect the county that long.
The county then hired a consultant to help.
What we're trying to do is look at the nation and see what kind of best practices are nationwide.
Now county commissioners have a set of standards that, if approved, Commissioner Dennis says will allow solar, but not impact growth.
So it's got to be in the right place, and we've got hundreds of thousands of acres that are the right place. We've got some areas that are in urban growth areas that I believe is the wrong place.
Now, those new standards were originally going to be voted on during today's commission meeting, but because of the amount of information and public engagement, it was tabled until next Wednesday.
Thanks, Brandon.